the weekend, we got on the road. A bunch of us went out to Phoenix in Arizona and spoke to Turning Point USA, which is run by a guy called Charlie Kirk. Now, there are a lot of people on the right raising money, telling you they're conservative. Charlie Kirk's one of the only ones who appears to be paying attention to how the country is changing and thinking through his ideas accordingly. We think that's worth supporting. Anyway, here's part of the speech. You can't have wise leadership from people with unbalanced lives. You just can't. You can't. And it's not a matter of knowledge and what the data are. Okay. Got Google? I was about to say we could find the data, but of course they've all been hidden. Got DuckDuckGo? Anyway, but the point is, the facts are ascertainable. The question is, what do they mean? That's the question. So that's not a matter of knowledge, that's a matter of wisdom. So any intern can gather, like, the data, but it takes someone who understands what's important, understands people, understands life in its full scope, understands we're going to be here next week, so let's think ahead to that point at very least, understands that we're all going to go away and be replaced by other people, maybe we should care about them. It takes someone like that to make decisions based on that information, and that's exactly what we don't have. We've got a ton of people who are totally cut off because they live in a hermetically sealed, airless world where they're really, really worried about getting super sick, which I'm sympathetic to that. But that doesn't mean that people who are 25 and at no risk at all should pay the cost for that. I get that you're concerned, and I respect that, and I have relatives in that position. I can't overstate how much I'm not mocking and how seriously I'm taking those fears because I think they're grounded. I'm not making fun of anybody. We all have to decide, what we're afraid of and how we're going to respond to it. What I think is completely unacceptable is destroying the next generation of Americans because you're afraid. I think it's cowardly. I think it's disgusting. I think it's one of the great crimes ever committed. I do think that. It's totally cowardly. It's totally, I'm 52, so, I'm more than halfway there. And I'd rather leave tonight than see my kids destroyed. Any normal person would. Any normal person would hesitate for 1 second. Not 1 second. Well, I could live another 30 years and play more golf. Or my kids could thrive. I'm going to have to take the weekend to think about it. No normal person thinks that way. And if you're in charge of a country, you have to think of the country first. It's actually not about you, you narcissistic creep. It's not about you. Oh, I'm so afraid. Okay, you're so afraid. I don't judge you. We all have irrational fears. We all have actually some rational fears. There are things to be afraid of. That's all right. But you can't lead if you're afraid. That is totally disqualifying. Terrified people shouldn't be in charge of anything. Terrified people says, who? So this is like the most obvious thing in world history. No country puts terrified people in charge. It's like there's no animal species that does that. Oh, the whimpering dog's going to lead the pack. That's a good idea. No, whimpering dog gets to the back. He follows the big brave dog. That's how life is. How far are you from nature that you think it's a good idea to put a terrified old guy in charge of Corona? What? No, I mean it. So here's the upside. This can't continue. Nature writes the rules. We don't. And Joe Biden certainly doesn't. Nature writes the rules. Period. We're not in charge of those rules that are immutable. They applied to the Romans. They apply to us. These are the laws of nature. We are subject to them whether we want to be or not. We can't change them. We can't transition out of them. We can't identify as being exempt from them. Because they don't change. They don't care what we think. Nature, God, is outside of our control. We can only respond. That's it. And we can respond wisely or we can respond foolishly, but we can't pretend we're in charge of it. You spend the night in a snowstorm in your boxers, you're going to die. You can't identify as warm. It will kill you. No, it's true. Lost control there for a moment. Sorry about that.
This is Charlie Kirk, founder and CEO of Turning Point USA. If you liked this video, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Turning Point USA.